The FBI just got caught red-handed lying about how often armed citizens stop mass shootings. For years, they've been telling us it's only 3.7% of the time. But new research shows the real number might be 10 times higher. And when you remove gun-free zones from the equation, the percentage jumps to an absolutely mind-blowing 64%. That means nearly 2/3 of active shootings are stopped by regular Americans like you and me when we're actually allowed to carry. But here's the kicker. The FBI has known about these missing cases for years and chose to ignore them anyway. I'm about to show you exactly how federal agencies have been manipulating data to push a narrative that makes law-abiding gun owners look useless. We're going to break down the real numbers, expose the 5 major ways the FBI has been cooking the books, and reveal why this matters for every single person who believes in the Second Amendment. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the media keeps repeating that good guys with guns are a myth, when the actual data proves we're the first line of defense in America. You'll also discover which specific incidents the FBI conveniently left out of their reports, and why gun-free zones are actually making us less safe, not more. Quick legal note: I am not an attorney. This is not legal advice. This video is for information and entertainment purposes only. Always consult a legal professional in your jurisdiction for any specific legal questions. If you're finding this information valuable, hit that like button and subscribe for more content the mainstream media won't tell you about your Second Amendment rights. The FBI's official story. Let's start with what the FBI has been telling us for the past decade. From 2014 through 2024, their official reports claim that armed citizens stopped only 14 out of 374 active shooter incidents. That's 3.7%. Now, you've probably heard this number before because anti-gun politicians love throwing it around. They use it to argue that ordinary people with firearms rarely stop mass shooters and that civilian intervention is risky or ineffective. But here's the first red flag. The FBI has a very specific definition of what counts as an active shooter. They only count shootings in public places, and they exclude anything connected to robberies, gang activity, or other crimes. Even more importantly, they exclude incidents where a potential attacker was stopped before shots were fired. Think about that for a second. If you draw your weapon and stop a would-be mass shooter before he can fire a single round, the FBI doesn't count that as a defensive gun use. But if the FBI stops a potential mass shooting before shots are fired, they always take full credit. And here's the kicker. The FBI even admits in their own reports that they're not comprehensive and not intended to capture all active shooter incidents. So why are we using incomplete data to make policy decisions that affect millions of Americans? The real investigation. This is where Dr. John Lott Jr. from the Crime Prevention Research Center comes in. He decided to do what the FBI should have done from the beginning: actually investigate all the cases. Now, before we dive into what Lott discovered, you need to know this guy isn't some random blogger with an opinion. Dr. John Lott is an economist who served as senior advisor for research and statistics in the Trump administration's Department of Justice. He's held research positions at the University of Chicago, Yale, Stanford, and UCLA. He's published over 100 peer-reviewed academic articles and written 10 books on guns and crime, including More Guns, Less Crime. From 1969 to 2000, he ranked 26th worldwide among economists in terms of quality research output. That puts him in the top tier of academic researchers globally. He ranks among the most cited economists in the world. So when this guy says the FBI got their numbers completely wrong, you better believe people in academic and policy circles take notice. This isn't partisan politics. This is world-class research calling out sloppy government statistics. Lott and his team went back through the same 10-year period the FBI used, but they didn't just rely on federal databases. They dug through public records, local news reports, police reports, and other sources that the FBI apparently couldn't be bothered to check. What they found was absolutely shocking. The FBI either missed or misclassified hundreds of cases. In total, the Crime Prevention Research Center identified 561 active shooter-type events compared to the FBI's 374. That means the Bureau left out roughly 187 incidents. That's a third of all cases. But here's where it gets really wild. Of those 561 incidents, the CPRC found that 202 were stopped by armed citizens. That's not 3.7%, that's 36%. Over a third of all active shooter events ended because a citizen, not law enforcement, intervened with a firearm. Let that sink in for a moment. We're not talking about a small statistical error here. We're talking about the difference between armed citizens almost never help and armed citizens stop more than 1 in 3 mass shootings. The 5 ways FBI cooked the books. So how did the FBI get it so wrong? The Crime Prevention Research Center identified 5 major problems with the FBI's methodology. Number 1, the FBI's definition is way too narrow. If the shooter had any other motive, robbery, domestic dispute, gang activity, it gets tossed out, even if it was a public shooting that terrorized innocent people. Number 2, misclassification. Some cases were counted, but the FBI didn't credit the armed citizen even when witnesses and police confirmed that a civilian stopped the attack. Number 3, no-shot interventions don't count. If a citizen pulled a gun and stopped the attack without firing, the FBI doesn't count it as a defensive gun use. But remember, if the FBI stops a mass shooting before shots are fired, they always take credit. Number 4, media bias creates blind spots. Many defensive gun uses never make national news. They're only covered locally, so they never hit the FBI's radar. The mainstream media has zero interest in promoting stories about good guys with guns saving lives. Number 5, institutional inertia. The Bureau has been told about these missing cases multiple times, but they've been slow to fix their reports. It's almost like they prefer the lower numbers for some reason. The result is a completely distorted national narrative that makes it seem like armed citizens almost never help, when in reality, we're stepping up far more often than anyone wants to admit. The gun-free zone revelation. Now here's the most powerful finding from the Crime Prevention Research Center's investigation. When you exclude gun-free zones from the analysis, the percentage of active shootings stopped by armed citizens isn't 36%. It jumps to about 64%. Think about what that means. In places where law-abiding Americans are actually allowed to carry firearms, we stop the bad guys almost 2/3 of the time. 2 out of every 3 potential mass shootings end because someone like you or me was there, armed, and ready to act. This completely destroys the gun control argument that more guns make us less safe. The data shows the exact opposite. When good people can carry guns, bad people get stopped before they can hurt innocent victims. And it makes perfect sense when you think about it. We're the ones who are actually there when something bad happens. Police response times average 5 to 20 minutes in most areas. Think about how much damage a determined killer can do in 15 minutes when nobody can fight back. But when someone is armed and trained, they can end the threat in seconds, not minutes. They don't have to wait for backup, they don't have to establish a perimeter, and they don't have to worry about jurisdiction. They just have to act. Why this matters? This isn't just about statistics. This is about real lives saved by real Americans who chose to carry firearms and take responsibility for their own safety and the safety of others. Every time the FBI publishes these incomplete numbers, and every time the media repeats them without question, they're not just spreading misinformation, they're actively discouraging people from exercising their Second Amendment rights. They're making Americans believe that defensive gun use is rare and ineffective, when the truth is, we're often the difference between a tragedy and a news story that never makes it past the local paper. Bad statistics lead to bad policy. When federal agencies publish incomplete data and media outlets repeat it without question, the American public gets misled. It makes responsible gun owners look irrelevant or dangerous when the truth is, we're the first line of defense. And the more this truth gets buried, the easier it becomes for politicians to push for bans, restrictions, and more gun-free zones, all under the false impression that armed citizens don't make a difference. Conclusion. So here's the bottom line. The FBI says 3.7%. Independent research says 36%. In places where we're actually allowed to carry, it's 64%. That's not a small difference. That's the truth versus a carefully crafted narrative. The next time someone tells you that good guys with guns are a myth, you can tell them the real numbers. We are the difference makers, and now we have the data to prove it. If this opened your eyes to what's really happening with gun statistics in America, smash that like button and subscribe for more content that cuts through the mainstream media BS. And when you're done here, click on one of the other videos to keep learning about your Second Amendment rights. Stay armed, stay informed, and stay free.